All of the buzz from Chiefs training camp was that we're going to see a reversion to the old version of Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be throwing into tight windows again. He's going to be pushing the ball downfield again. And in the Chiefs-Bears preseason game, we got to see some examples of this coming to fruition. So let's take a look at some of the plays that show that Patrick Mahomes may have gotten his swagger back. Let's start with the second play from scrimmage for the Chiefs offense. They come out in a second and short situation, about 2nd and 4, and they line up in 11 personnel. 11 personnel meaning they have one running back, that's Ajay Pacheco, and then one tight end, that's Travis Kelce down here. One running back and one tight end gives you a 1-1-11 personnel. The wide receivers up top here, we have Rashee Rice isolated. We got Xavier Worthy here in the slot, and here is Tyquan Thornton lined up. So they're in a 3-by-1 formation here. The Bears come out in their nickel. You can see they've got 5 defensive backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they appear to be lined up pre-snap in a cover 2 shell. You see the 2 deep safeties right here. So let's run through this play real quick, and then we'll break it down. We've got Mahomes in the shotgun with Pacheco to his left. He's got the 3-by-1 strong to his right side. He steps back and he throws a pattern down the left side to Rashee Rice. It's incomplete. It ends up being called pass interference, and the Chiefs get a first down. But more interesting is what happened on this play. So what the Chiefs are doing, they're essentially running the 4 verticals like you would in Madden. They've got Rashee Rice, the isolated receiver, going down the field. Xavier Worthy's running a deep over, and behind him, Tyquan Thornton is running a post. Travis Kelce, way on the right, is just running a 9 route, a go route over here. The Bears are actually not playing a cover 2, even though their pre-snap shell shows the 2 deep safeties. If you notice, as we run this, the top safety comes down into the box. So this is what they call a middle field closed coverage. You're going to have one safety in the middle of the field. It looks like it's kind of a pattern match coverage. It's not a clear like cover 1, but essentially it becomes man-to-man coverage down the field. So really what it looks like is that this matchup on Rashee Rice is essentially just man coverage. Down here, Travis Kelce is also essentially just manned up. And it looks like in the slot and then the safety here, they have the vertical aspects of these routes. I imagine if these routes were more like in-breakers, they'd be passed off to linebackers. And if anyone broke out to the flat on shorter routes, this might have been more of like a pattern match situation. But since all the routes are going deep, it essentially ends up being like we're manned up here, and manned up here. So by the time you're well into the routes, you've essentially got man coverage on Worthy from the safety, man coverage on Thornton when he's running his post, man coverage on Kelce out here, and man coverage on Rashee Rice. So if you look at what Mahomes has to see, he takes a snap from the shotgun, hits the back of his drop. He's got a pretty good pocket. Josh Simmons is holding up. There's a double team here from Humphrey and Kingsley Suamataia, and both Smith and Taylor are holding up. So he's got a nice pocket. And if you look, his first read is over to Rashee Rice on the left. He's dropped back. He's looking at the safety first down the field. He's seeing that he's got a single high, no help over the top on Rice, and he's got one-on-one, and that's his first read. Interestingly, and that's not really the point of this video, but had he held on to this ball in his good pocket, Worthy on his deep over is going to take the safety. Like we said, it's essentially man coverage, which leaves nobody over the top for Thornton's post. So if this was a long developing play and he wanted to look for the shot first, then this is a very interesting chance to get Thornton on the post if Worthy's able to hold the safety down. However, this is why understanding progressions of a play is so important. He's clearly reading Rice first. And if the throw is there to Rice, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. The quarterback's not going to look at somebody, see if they're open, and then be like, well, let me go check if somebody else is more open. If you got the guy that's first in your read and he's open, you're going to throw it to him. It doesn't matter what else is going on the field. So Rice is clearly the first read on this play. And why this is interesting for someone who wants to know how Mahomes is going to play this year, Rice is pretty tightly covered. One of the things we know about Patrick Mahomes, even in his really aggressive gunslinger days before 2023, he doesn't throw to covered receivers. You know, there were times, especially in 2018, where he'd be running around and try to fit throws in there. But in general, when you've got sticky coverage like this, he doesn't really throw it that much. He also doesn't throw a lot of back shoulder. The one time where it seemed like he was starting to do that was 2022 with Juju Smith-Schuster. So this is very informative as far as what the Chiefs are trying to do. They've got a corner over the top. Now, this is a good time to throw back shoulder because the corner is not trailing. He's in line with Rice, and he's not looking back. The time that you don't want to throw back shoulder is when you have a corner over the top that has eyes down on the quarterback or a cornerback that's clearly trailing, right? Why would you throw it when they're trailing back shoulder? If they're trailing, you'd throw it up ahead to get it to the open spot. And if you have a corner with eyes back on the quarterback, then the back shoulder gives them a great opportunity to drive and intercept the pass. So this is a good opportunity, but it's not an opportunity that Mahomes has historically taken. And so the fact that he's trying this throw, and it was a good throw, look at the ball placement there where only Rice can get it. They weren't able to connect. It looks like the refs called in a pass interference on an early contact here. This angle doesn't really give us the opportunity to evaluate that. It's really hard to tell how early that contact was from this angle. But the fact that Mahomes is trying this is really informative to us. The Chiefs are making this a point of emphasis. We saw back in the Cardinals game, the touchdown to Jason Brownlee was again a back shoulder throw. So this is something that they clearly are working on in the preseason, something that will probably be part of Patrick Mahomes' repertoire, just adding to his opportunities, the ways that he can get his receivers the ball. And that also really bodes well as far as how much Mahomes and his receivers are on the same page, because this requires a lot of coordination. Quarterback and receiver have to really be able to trust each other in order to make throws like this in tight coverage. So let's take a look at it from the end zone view. Watch again as Mahomes drops back. This is a pretty good rep from Kingsley Suamataia, who we were really worried about in pass protection in the first two games. He gets beat inside, but he knows he's got help, so that's not really a problem. He's got Creed, who has his eyes on the right side and is still helping out to his left. But that's as Kingsley in his position, you've got Creed helping this middle, so you're always willing to protect your outside shoulder a little bit more. If you get beat a little bit inside, that's okay. You got Creed helping you. Look at Joshua Simmons really showing his power. He gets bull rushed, and in this situation, you just got to die a slow death. Look at him he gets pushed back. Right here, he's re-anchoring and able to hold up. Look at the distance he's able to maintain right here. Taylor does a similar, look at the pocket on the right side. Like, they really give Mahomes space. This is just not something we saw a lot of last year, especially from his tackles. And we know that for Mahomes in particular, if his tackles hold up, he seems to do really well. Pressure up the middle doesn't seem to faze him as much. And so that's a really good sign as well as far as how the Chiefs offense is going to operate. Again, this camera angle, even from the end zone cam, the camera gets over there a little late. It does look like maybe the contact was a little early, but it's just hard for us to evaluate. In any case, pass interference was called, and the Chiefs got to move the chains. But the real upshot from this is Mahomes is pushing the ball in ways that we're not really used to him doing a lot, and we'll see how that continued throughout this preseason game. We jump ahead in this drive to a 2nd and 10 on the Chicago 34-yard line. The Chiefs are lined up here in 11 personnel again. We've got one running back, that's Brashard Smith. The tight end is Travis Kelce. And the three wide receivers are Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Rashee Rice. The Bears look to be in their nickel again with just two linebackers and 5 defensive backs. Again, they're kind of showing a too high shell pre-snap. Let's take a look at what happens on this play. So Mahomes is in the shotgun. Rashee Rice comes across in motion. Mahomes takes the snap and he throws it down the seam on the left side to Brashard Smith, who cannot haul it in. It ends up being an incomplete pass. But this is a very interesting play, both as far as what happens on the play and how the play was designed. So the Chiefs start out in a 2-by-2, right? And Rashee Rice motions over. But what's interesting, this is a nifty play design by Andy Reid, and an interesting thing to already be breaking out in the preseason, in that even though we've got Rice coming over as the wide receiver, I want you to think of it as like, this is almost like a trip set with 3 receivers. It's just that the third one is Brashard Smith. The Chiefs are essentially like in trips right here, with 2 guys up and 1 receiver back. And Rashee Rice coming across and coming out to the flat is essentially running like a running back route. It's almost like Rashee Rice is here and Brashard Smith is lined up here. And they run Xavier Worthy coming and doing like a skinny post. Travis Kelce comes and runs an out and up. And Brashard Smith trails and comes down the seam. So he's almost like the third wide receiver, and Rashee Rice is just coming across and replacing him and doing the little flare-out route that the running back would typically do from this position. Juju Smith-Schuster comes in and runs a dig. And now what the Bears do, they're actually just running cover 1 man. So we've got man coverage right here, man coverage right here, man coverage right here, man coverage right here, and a linebacker is taking Brashard Smith. So this safety is going to rotate over. Sorry, this is the linebacker taking Brashard Smith. This guy's going to blitz. So these 5 are rushing the quarterback. These 4 are in man coverage, and then you just have 1 deep safety. So they rotate into that right as Rashee Rice is coming across and the Chiefs are about to snap. So again, look at this. See, Rashee Rice is flaring out like a running back would. Kelce is going on his out and up. Worthy is climbing through. And then Brashard Smith is like the third wide receiver coming out of the trips bunch. Smith, I love the way he runs this route and the way he's able to get through contact. So he's being guarded by 44. As 44 comes out, watch the way that he kind of shimmies around through the arm kind of grab of 44 and gets to the inside, giving himself a position right here for Mahomes to throw. Like, this is quite good. You know, he's not letting the contact mess with him. He's released outside of the linebacker. He's trying to give Mahomes a target and manages to squeeze back inside. Those little details are very important in route running, especially, I mean, Brashard Smith's a running back, but really he's a wide receiver that converted to a running back, and that's where you can see these nuances as someone who's played most of his career in college as a wide receiver. And I mean, Mahomes puts it right on the button. It's a little high, but he's got to catch this ball, especially being a former receiver. I mean, it looks like he got it, and then through the process of the catch, he just bobbled it and wasn't able to hang on. But when is the last time you've seen this kind of situation from a running back? The running back coming out, running down the seam. I mean, I haven't looked into it, but off the top of my head, the last time I remember a running back receiving a ball, like having the ball hit him in the hands this far downfield. I mean, we're talking, he's at the 18-yard line? So that's like 16 yards down the field-ish from where where the ball was snapped. I mean, the last time I remember a running back catching a ball like that on a design play was Kareem Hunt in 2017, week 1, when Alex Smith hit him on like a kind of wheel, that seam route again, going up the seam for a touchdown that kind of flipped the Chiefs-Patriots opening night game on its head. That's the last time I remember something like that. The Chiefs, I mean, Damian Williams caught some passes, but I don't remember him catching a ball that was like 16 yards down the field. He would catch like a quick arrow route out of the backfield and then take it for a bit, or he'd catch screens, but this is really something. So again, the Chiefs making an effort here to push the ball down the field and creatively use Brashard Smith. This is going to be one where those of you that listen to us on the Steelers Thoughts Chief Feelings podcast, I had been a little worried about Brashard Smith and his prospects. Not that I thought he would definitely not make the roster, but it was a crowded running back room. But seeing how they used him in this game and how they're talking about him, like, he seems like he's definitely making the roster. Carson Steele's position is probably a little more tenuous than I thought it was. But Brashard Smith, the way that they're talking about him and the way that they've designed stuff like this for him, he's going to be a Chief this year. I think they really like him more than I thought based on his usage, especially in the first preseason game. I was more worried about him being a 7th-round guy, and I think I considered Elijah Mitchell and Carson Steele to have more secure spots on this roster than probably they do. I think it may be Carson Steele that is the odd man out, but this would be a very encouraging game if you're someone who believes in Brashard Smith and his potential on this roster and his potential to do things going forward. I mean, the Chiefs clearly have some stuff dialed up for him that they were saving until the 3rd game of the preseason. All right, here we have it from the end zone view. As Mahomes drops back here, again, a good pocket. Look at Joshua Simmons and just absolutely erasing the end. I mean, he's just not even a factor whatsoever. Kingsley handles a rush to the outside and handles it quite well in this situation. Another good pass block rep for him. The blitzer is picked up by Creed. No issues there. Smith and Taylor hold up well too. I mean, Mahomes is getting time to throw like we're not used to seeing in prior iterations of the Chiefs in the last, basically coming from 2024. I mean, this, he had to extend for this, Smith, but especially as a former wideout, you got to catch this one. He just bobbled it on his way down and wasn't able to secure it. But, man, this is promising, and Mahomes throwing it downfield, the Chiefs dialing up some interesting routes for a running back, the running back who seems capable of running those routes, being a former wide receiver. This will be a nice one to keep our eye on throughout the regular season. Now let's jump to the very next play. So the Chiefs now have 3rd and 10 at the Bears, about 34-yard line. And they come out again in 11 personnel. So it's funny, there's been a lot of talk about how teams are going into these bigger and heavier sets, and we've just seen a lot of 11 from the Chiefs this preseason. Now, they did get into some heavier sets in the Seattle game, but we still see a lot of 3 wideout sets, and that's what we've got here. We've got the 1 running back, Isaiah Pacheco, the 1 tight end, Travis Kelce, 1 running back, 1 tight end, that's 11 personnel. We've got Juju Smith-Schuster, Xavier Worthy, and Rashee Rice as the wide receivers. To match 11, again, the Bears have 5 DBs on the field in their nickel set. So let's take a look at this one, and then we'll break it down. Mahomes in the gun, 3 to his right, Kelce to the left. He drops back to throw, scrambles to his right, looking for anyone open, and then finally throws it into a tight window to Juju Smith-Schuster, who makes the catch for the 1st down. Okay, so what are the Chiefs doing here? So essentially what the Chiefs have going is they've got Kelce coming and running in underneath as they're getting a little bit of a clear out. So Juju runs kind of an intermediate dig. I believe it's Rice that also does, Worthy clears out. So if you see it here, you see Worthy clearing out over the middle. Juju and Rice are going to both come up and then run across. And Kelce is coming in underneath. So this is an interesting play, particularly against man coverage, but because this route combination is going to drag defenders out of this area and then give Kelce a chance to come in, make a catch, and potentially run after the catch. However, the Bears are running a zone here. It's really a variation of just cover 3. So you've got 3 guys with deep responsibilities, the safety is buzzing down, and so you have three guys in underneath zones. So ultimately that shallow throw to Kelce here is not as good of an option against a zone, because you've got defenders sitting over the top to try to prevent him from getting here, the first down. Now this is, I think, the big thing from takeaway from this play is this is the difference between having a line that can give you enough protection that you can be creative. So the only guy that really has any degree of trouble in this play is Jawan Taylor, who still, again, is dying a slow death and keeping his man away from Mahomes. But last year, Mahomes hits the back of his drop here. He's under a lot of pressure and ultimately has to dump this ball down to Travis Kelce. That's what the 2024 Chiefs offense was, right? Like, you have this kind of play. Nobody's immediately popping open. It's against zone. There are guys with eyes on the underneath guy. They're willing to give up this catch. Mahomes throws it, and then all the stats people are like, what has happened to Mahomes? His average depth of target has gone down so much. Well, what else are you going to do when, it's 3rd and 10, but you got to get this ball out? This is the only option you have. But fast forward to this preseason, suddenly Mahomes has some protection, and that allows him to escape, buy some time, and give himself a chance to make something happen down the field. So this is the biggest answer to the question when people are like, well, why in 2018, 2019 was Mahomes' average depth of target so much deeper? How come he was throwing beyond the sticks every time on 3rd down and he's not in 2024? Well, it's because he didn't have the time to do it. And now you see when Mahomes has the time and the ability to get out of the pocket and be creative, the old Mahomes is back. And look at this throw. Look, here's Juju right here. This is what he's looking at. And Mahomes is willing to take a chance because the defender is not looking, right? He's looking the other way. So when somebody's in tight coverage, defender's not looking, you still have a chance to make this throw. Defender doesn't know the throw is coming. And Mahomes decides to throw it about here. Look, he's not open at all. And Mahomes just fits it right in here to give Juju a chance, and Juju makes the catch. Look at him throw across his body from here back over to here. Sorry, I can't draw a straight line. Back over to there. Boom. What a throw. And again, Mahomes is pushing the ball into tight windows. And some of that is true, him being intentional about going back to doing what he used to be doing. But some of it is that you need enough time. Mahomes doesn't need a ton, but he needs the ability to escape. He needs the pocket to at least be good enough that he's not just in complete trouble by the time he hits the back of his drop. And when that happens, suddenly Mahomes looks a lot more like the Mahomes that was way more exciting before. And that is the promise of the Chiefs offense this year. If the line can hold up like it looks like it might, suddenly Mahomes will start looking like Mahomes again. If you're a betting person and you want to put those bets down on Patrick Mahomes to win MVP, I would say do it now, because I have a feeling your odds are going to get less and less favorable for yourself as time goes on. You won't be making as much money as the rest of the league starts to see what Mahomes is going to be up to this year. Again, from the end zone view, look as he hits the back of his drop. Look at this pocket. Jawan Taylor still is doing more than enough to keep a man off of Mahomes. And again, he's got the lane to escape. So he comes out, and then look at this throw. Just look at the mechanics on it. He's throwing from here. He's falling backwards across his body. And he manages to get that into a covered Juju. And that's Kevin Byard, who, yes, he's not what he was a couple years ago, but it's a good safety. Boom. Right in there. First down, Chiefs. So let's jump ahead a little bit. The next drive, we've got the Chiefs ahead 7-0. They've got a 1st and 10 at their own 24-yard line, just having hit a 9-yard screen pass to Rashee Rice for a first down. So they come out here lined up again at 11 personnel. One running back. This time it's Kareem Hunt. Tight end is Travis Kelce. And the wide receivers out wide over here, you have Tyquan Thornton. In the slot is Xavier Worthy. And over here, isolated on the right side, is Rashee Rice. The Bears match the 11 again with 5 defensive backs, 3, 4, 5, and their nickel. And again, they're showing a 2-high shell. So let's take a look at this play. We've got Mahomes in the shotgun, sends Kelsey over in motion, and Kelsey goes back. Mahomes takes the snap, fakes a handoff, hits the back of his drop, and throws a deep pass down the left side to Tyquan Thornton, who hauls it in for what ultimately was called a 58-yard gain. So let's take a look at how this happened. So the Chiefs come out here, and they end up, after Kelsey goes in motion, he ends up staying in and helping to chip, and Kareem Hunt comes over here to chip as well. So they get chip help on both ends, trying to set up a shot play. And Xavier Worthy runs a post to the middle of the field. Tyquan Thornton runs deep. So as you watch this develop, well, and I forgot to mention that Rashee Rice is going to come and run a dig route across the middle. So as you watch this develop, the Bears again rotate down. So they have the safety rotate down. This is a middle of field closed, meaning that there's one safety in the middle of the field. And this really just ends up being cover one man. So we've got man here, man to man. Kelsey's manned up here, and Kareem Hunt's manned up here. So as Mahomes drops back, the thing that I want to note is as he's hitting the back of his drop or about to throw, this looks so different from last year in that Tyquan Thornton is even with the corner, and you know how receivers say, if I'm even, I'm leaving. So he's open there with a guy with his level of speed. He's already step for step with the corner. Xavier Worthy has come on inside release on the post. He's got the safety over the top, but if he flattens this route, there is a potential for a window being open here. Rashee Rice is coming across the middle in man coverage. Again, there's potential for this to pop open too. I mean, guys are giving him options, and that's not something that was happening consistently over the last 2 years. Now, let's really take a look at Thornton. So Thornton's got off coverage. He comes up and releases outside, and the corner just is not respectful enough of his speed. Look at the corner is still flat-footed here, and by the time he realizes that Thornton's, this isn't any kind of setup, like he's going, the corner just doesn't have the speed to catch up with him. But I want you to pay attention to Thornton's release here, because I want to contrast it to another play that happened earlier in this game that we'll take a look at real quick. So check out Thornton and watch how, as he's coming up to the corner, he releases outside and stays wide outside the numbers. You see, he's really kind of almost right in between the numbers and the sideline is the path that he takes. And that width is important. And let's examine the importance of that width by taking a look at another play from earlier in the game. Now, this is a play from earlier in the game. It's actually the play right before the Brashard Smith drop down the seam that we talked about. The play right before that was a first down play, and we won't belabor the entire play. I really want to just look at the left side here because it's a similar combination to what we were talking about earlier. Rashee Rice is going to run a kind of post-looking in-breaking route that kind of threatens the middle of the field safety, and Xavier Worthy is going deep this time. If you remember on the previous play, it was Worthy here and Tyquan Thornton there that caught the bomb. This time it's Rice on the in-breaking route and Worthy going deep. And again, this isn't a one-for-one comparison to the Thornton play because the play design and development is a little different. If you notice, Mahomes goes play action and actually boots over, so it's a little bit of a longer developing play. But watch Worthy. So if you remember now, things are a little different. Tyquan Thornton was playing against off coverage, and so he had the ability to ramp up and get to the corner. But one thing that Thornton did very well was he ran straight at that corner, kind of allowing him to release either way. He didn't really commit. This is different when you're playing against press, right? So I'm not trying to say one-to-one, but watch what happens if you're not able to win outside like Thornton was. So Worthy actually comes off the line and he tries to get outside. However, the corner is ready to match him step for step. And Worthy at this point, as the corner starts to cut him off, realizes he's not going to be able to win there and cuts his route back inside, similarly to what Brashard Smith did on that seam route. Well, the problem with that here is, you see, as Worthy does win and then starts drifting, remember how we talked about Tyquan Thornton was halfway in between the numbers and the sideline. He was running at about here. Xavier Worthy is much more running right at the inside part of the numbers. Why that's a problem is it's too close to the safety that's here in the middle of the field. So the goal with this route combination is that the safety gets held by Rice, and that ideally, if Worthy has a little more width here, Mahomes can make a throw that the safety can't get out to. But when Worthy's running at the inside of the numbers, if you look, Mahomes wants to make this throw, but this is too dangerous of a throw. As he loads up here, the safety can turn his hips, and it's not as hard to get out here. Whereas if Worthy were a little bit farther out, Mahomes might be able to throw this more toward the pylon, where Worthy is, or where the safety can't get to it. And so now, like I said, it's not like for like, because on one hand, Mahomes had to boot all the way over here. It's a different timing progression of the play. And Worthy was playing press, whereas Tyquan Thornton was playing against off coverage. It's a little harder, but you would hope in this situation to maybe sell your release inside initially first so that you can break out. Basically not allow to the corner to sit on the outside release. And maybe Worthy just thought, like, I'm faster than you, I can make it. But the corner did a good job of mirroring his steps and cutting him off. In this case, if you're Xavier Worthy and you're playing against a middle of the field closed coverage and you're trying to win on a go route, you have to be able to win outside. You got to do what you got to do to win outside. And unfortunately, Worthy wasn't able to on this play. And let's go back to Tyquan Thornton's. And really, that's the difference. The other difference that I should point out is that they're at the 34-yard line. So there's only so much distance Worthy can get as far as running past the safety until he hits the back of the end zone. So Tyquan Thornton, this play started on the Chiefs' 24-yard line. There was a lot more room to run. But ultimately, it shows the difference between if you're coming down close to the numbers on a go route with a middle of field safety versus if you're more toward the sideline. Mahomes has the ability to make that throw. And let's hop back to the Thornton situation where he was able to complete. All right, so back to the pass to Thornton. You see Thornton much closer to the sideline than where Worthy had been running, somewhere around here. You see the safety in the middle of the field occupied by Worthy. And the other part that I should say is a little different is that, of course, Worthy's a little more of a threat coming across on the post than Rashee Rice was in that other play. So the safety might honor that a little more. But you see that window that Mahomes has to throw this ball, and the safety's not able to get there in time. And Thornton does a great job of tracking it and getting it. And what I did not realize in real time is that if this ball is literally like 6 inches shorter maybe, and he just doesn't have to extend a little much and can maintain his balance, like, he's going to score. For some reason, when we watched this live, I just thought that, you know, the way it was set up, he was not going to be able to catch this in stride, that it was just a play where he was going to have to extend to get to it. But seeing this, like, this is almost, I mean, this is a great throw from Mahomes. This is not at all a criticism of the throw. But if it were a perfect throw, or if Thornton was able to maintain a little more balance, or even lunge just a little bit less, like, then, and stay up, that's a touchdown. But cool route design, great job by Thornton getting open wide, and great job tracking the deep ball, which is not something that Chiefs receivers have done well in recent years. All in all, a phenomenal play. And if Thornton's able to do this, you know, even once every 2 or 3 games, oh my goodness, this is going to open up the Chiefs offense. Then looking at it from the end zone view, again, it's a shot play setup here. Good blocking all throughout. Look at Josh Simmons getting the chip from Kelsey. And then Juwan Taylor gets the chip from Kareem Hunt. Both of them do a good job of using their chip. Creed and Kingsley do a good job on the tackle. Trey has a little bit of a rough rep, but he loses late and is able to ride his guy long enough for Mahomes to make this throw. Great catch by Thornton. It's too bad that this was so close. If he had just been able to stay upright, if the ball was a little shorter and he didn't have to lunge quite as much, might have been able to take this all the way to the house. But a very, very, very exciting play. And hopefully something, again, it shows the intention of moving the ball downfield, the aggressiveness, and it's working. And Thornton doesn't need to be somebody. He doesn't need to be what we're hoping Xavier Worthy's going to be. Thornton just needs to be Marquez Valdez-Scantling from 2022. Every couple games, catch a deep ball, keep the defense honest, make them have to respect the deep ball, and when they don't, make a play here or there just to keep putting pressure on them. I mean, if he's able to do that, that'll be a huge, huge boon for the Chiefs offense. We jump ahead to later in the first quarter. Now the Chiefs, still up 7-0, have a 3rd and 4 at the Bears' 12-yard line. They come out here in 11 personnel again. Their one running back is Kareem Hunt. Their tight end is Travis Kelce. The 3 wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster out wide, Rashee Rice in the slot, and Xavier Worthy in the backfield. The Bears, again, in nickel to counter the 11 personnel. They have 5 defensive backs. So let's take a look at what happens here. Worthy goes in motion out to the left. He's out wide. Mahomes takes the snap. Drops back and immediately starts navigating the pocket. He ends up scrambling out to his right, throws across his body to Kareem Hunt in the end zone, who's not able to make the catch, resulting in an incompletion. All right, so what are the Chiefs doing here on this play? The releases of Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy are very similar to what we talked about on the play that went to Brashard Smith up the seam. You're going to have Kelce have an outside release. Xavier Worthy will come and have an inside release. On the right side, you can see that Rashee Rice is taking a deeper dig and Juju Smith-Schuster is coming in. So you've got outside here, inside here, Rice, and then Juju. And on this snap, Mahomes a little bit kind of has some happy feet. It almost looks like he kind of reverts to 2024 Mahomes a little bit. It's true his tackles are kind of trying to force their guys wide, so he does well to step up a little bit. Kingsley is getting pushed back, but still is, anchoring and at least, as they say, dying a slow death. And instead of kind of maintaining his position and trying to let his tackles force the guys around, Mahomes does step up, which actually allows his tackle to peel back into the B gap. And to his credit, Trey Smith notices what's happening and absolutely wrecks the defensive end right here. Surprisingly, it was going around on Twitter, and I actually responded to one of these posts. The complaint was that this right here was an illegal block in the back. It's actually not by the NFL rulebook. The NFL rulebook has an exception for illegal block in the back in what they call close line play, which is play within the tackle box. So when you're talking about within this box, same box that we're talking about when we talk about like whether someone has escaped it in order to avoid intentional grounding. When you're talking about within the tackle box, illegal block in the back does not apply. You can be blocked in the back. And so Trey Smith doing this was actually legal on this play. And not only did Trey Smith wreck the defensive end here, but as Mahomes is trying to establish position, Trey Smith goes and gets another shot on the other defensive end coming from that side. And this allows Mahomes to escape. Now, I'm not 100% sure. If Mahomes hangs back here, the hope is that his tackles would just be able to wash everybody behind. And it might be then easy for him to step up. It's almost like he prematurely stepped up a little bit here. That's not a guarantee, but the idea is you just allow them to be forced outside, and so then you're not dealing with the potential of them peeling back when you try to escape through the B gap. And Trey Smith doesn't have to go nuclear to make sure that everybody stays off of you. But fortunately, Trey Smith did. Mahomes flushed out, and look at the scramble drill. I think there are two people that really, really impressed me on this. One is, of course, Kareem Hunt. Look at him coming, like he came on his little flare to the outside, he peeled back around and then saw the play going this way and decided to come across in the end zone and make himself available. He has such great instincts. Look at him see the underneath defender, realize he needs to get some more depth, continuing along with the play, and look where it results in him just running wide open across the front of the end zone. The other reason why he's running wide open across the front of the end zone is the other person that was impressive on this play, and that's Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy here is coming across, trying to find open space, and he sees Kareem Hunt coming across the end zone. And what does he do? He peels back to the back of the end zone, dragging his defender with him, and that creates the space that Kareem Hunt has wide open. Xavier Worthy does a good job of realizing that he needs to maintain spacing to increase the chance that both of them could be open. So Worthy does a great job here of coming, spinning around, maintaining space, and is a huge reason why Kareem Hunt is able to run open. One thought that folks may have is, why did Mahomes throw this low? Kareem Hunt running here unopposed. Could he have just put this ball up so that Hunt wouldn't have had to go to the ground, and maybe Hunt's able to make that catch? My guess on this play is that, because he's throwing it right now is when he's deciding to throw. He's got this safety back here. If the safety tries to peel off and drive on this throw, a high throw, like chest level, can result in a much easier pick. So I think Mahomes puts it down in case the safety is going to peel off and try to drive on the throw if he sees it coming. He didn't, so in this case a higher throw would have worked. But I think that's why the throw was to the ground. And anyway, it's definitely a good enough throw. Like, this should be caught. Unfortunately, it wasn't, and ended up being fourth down. But again, if we take a look at the pocket that Mahomes was having to navigate, this is where I think if he just hangs back where he is, give your guys a chance to wash their ends around. The ends are already getting good depth. Stepping up is not a problem, but he unfortunately tries to escape at a time where the defensive end is still capable of peeling back inside. He's not pushed around the edge enough. But Trey Smith does a great job. Look at him just destroy this end right here. Again, not a block in the back because it is within the tackle box. And look at this block here too by Trey Smith. Just a phenomenal job of keeping his quarterback clean and giving Mahomes a chance. And then Mahomes across his body. I mean, this is definitely a catchable ball. It's a great throw. Unfortunately, Hunt couldn't bring it in. But again, Mahomes is making Mahomes plays. He's got time and he's got the intention. He's really trying to push the ball downfield, and it'll make for some really, really fun highlights this year and hopefully an explosive Chiefs offense. And now we jump to the first play of the second quarter. Chiefs in a goal-to-go situation. They come out in 12 personnel, one running back being Isaiah Pacheco. Two tight ends are Noah Gray and Travis Kelce. Wide receivers are Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. Let's take a look at the play real quick, and then we can break it down. Mahomes takes the snap and immediately throws a back shoulder pass to Rashee Rice, who catches it for the touchdown. This is really, again, it's not something the Chiefs did a lot. They've already tried it and succeeded in week 1 against the Cardinals with a back shoulder throw to Jason Brownlee. Now they hit Rice. And just the fact that they're trying this and they are succeeding at it, really, Mahomes and Rice seem to really be on the same page with this. Look at where Rice is right here, where Mahomes is throwing it. Like, he's throwing this pass right now. Rice is still making his move. So Mahomes knows the spot where he wants to put it. Again, the big thing he's checking, the corner's not looking. If the corner gets his head turned, there's a chance to undercut this ball. But if the corner is pushing back and trying to stay on top of him without his head being back, this is an easy opportunity for Rice if they're on the same page. This is a trust throw. It's a tight throw, and they execute it perfectly. This is such a good sign. If this is available, it's going to open up a lot more of the things that Andy and Mahomes have historically done. As teams take that away, you add to your repertoire, and it seems like these tight window back shoulder throws are something that the Chiefs are very intentionally adding, and it'll bring something very nice and exciting to the offense. Again, so you just plant, throw. Rice does a good job of, there's no need to push off here, right? He just comes, turns. He's the only guy that can make this catch. He's right in the right spot. Mahomes puts it at the right spot. They clearly rep this and understand the timing and spacing that they want on this play. Easy touchdown. Very exciting. Hopefully this is a sign of more things to come and a continued diversification of the things that Mahomes can do.